Welcome to the podcast that will teach you how to successfully invest in and build steady streams of passive income from the highly lucrative niche of mobile home park investing. Veteran real estate investors Kevin Bupp and Charles Dehart from Mobile Home Park Academy will personally share with you the valuable lessons they've learned along their journey as mobile home park investors, so that you too can learn how to build massive cash flow and huge profits from this extremely lucrative niche. So without further ado, let's welcome your hosts for today's show, Kevin Bupp and Charles Dehart.
Welcome, guys and gals, to the Mobile Home Park Investing Weekly Podcast, where we'll provide all the information that you need to know to successfully locate, negotiate, close on, and make huge profits from the lucrative niche of mobile home park investing. I'm your host, Kevin Bupp, and today I'll be joined by mobile home park owner and operator, Andrew Keel. Andrew's a passionate mobile home park investor with 475 lots under management. He started out not too long ago as a Lonnie Dealer, selling individual mobile homes out of several parks located in Central Florida. After graduating to the mobile home park investing scene and buying his first park in June of 2017, he has quickly amassed 7 communities and plans to grow to a total of 10 communities before year's end. Now, Andrew's strategy involves buying direct from small mom and pop owners and improving the management and ultimately increasing the bottom line revenue. And so in today's show, my goal here is to kind of dig into the nitty gritty of Andrew's business and find out things that we're all wondering, like, why mobile home parks first and foremost? Why Andrew loves this niche? Like, what does he like most about this business? What does he dislike the most about this business, right? Because it's not all just roses and tulip fields. The biggest struggles that he's faced and how he's overcome them over this past year that he's been in the niche, how he finds deals, how he funds deals, and so much more. So there's going to be a lot that we're talking about today here with Andrew. So I want to get on to with him. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Andrew Keel to the show. Andrew, how you doing today, bud?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, looking forward to diving in here. And so just so you guys are aware, this is like an extra special treat today, is Andrew is joining us from no other place other than a mobile home park. He is right in the heart of it today. He's in the office of a recent mobile home park acquisition that he purchased. And that was where, Andrew? That's up in Ohio?
It's in Salem, Ohio. Yep.
Okay, fantastic. So like you are in the trenches right now as we're doing this podcast.
Yep. Yeah, in the trenches here. And luckily it's not January. Otherwise I'd have a big parka on. It gets cold up here.
Yeah, sure does. Yeah, that part of the country really does. So it doesn't get really any more real than what's happening right now. But so Andrew, I want to talk about that acquisition because that was new news to me when we jumped on the call here today. But before we dive into that, we got plenty of time. Just tell us a little more about your background and more importantly, how you stumbled into this niche.
Yeah, I started out in Orlando, Florida. That's where I'm based out of. That's where I'm from. I started out as a Lonnie Dealer. I went around and I found Lonnie Scruggs on YouTube and just fell in love with the guy. And I started buying homes, little mobile homes for as cheap as like $350 down throughout Leesburg and Ocala, Florida. And I'd buy these homes and, basically put it in maybe $1,000, maybe less, just to kind of spruce them up a little bit. And then I was selling them, doing the mailbox money method that Lonnie talks about, and selling them on contract with a down payment to cover my costs. And I did that quite a bit, for several months, just trying to find a way to get into to real estate really, and to become a landlord, because that was like a dream of mine. And I didn't have, a ton of money to start out with. So that was a quick way for me to get involved in real estate. And I learned a lot, and I ended up meeting an owner in one of the parks up in Ocala, and he told me, hey, he's like, the real money's made in the dirt underneath the homes. It's not in the actual homes. And that was just like, something clicked at that moment, and it was like, you're right, but I don't have millions of dollars to get into, buying the whole park. How do I do that? And next thing I know, I was in a couple different seminars. I went to the mobile home boot camp with Frank and Dave, and from there on, I really was just blessed. I met a investor at my mobile home boot camp that I went to here in Orlando, and I found a deal. I was cold calling, trying to find parks at that time, and I found a deal, got it under contract. Didn't fully know where I was going to get the money for that deal, but sent out an email to some of the contacts that I met at the boot camp, and one of them ended up funding the deal and being my investor partner on that first property we bought in Edwardsville, Illinois. And ever since then, it's just been, we've been lucky enough to really come across some good deals. So we're just glued in, and we just really like mobile home parks right now.
Fantastic. And so prior to you becoming a Lonnie dealer, so like this has all happened. This is like a whirlwind. A lot of this has happened in the past like year and a half. And so prior to becoming a Lonnie dealer, going out there and finding these individual mobile homes and then transitioning into mobile home parks, what was your background prior to that?
Yeah, I actually sold websites to Keller Williams real estate agents. So I actually traveled the United States to over 150 Keller Williams market centers, selling, e-agency website refreshes, which is like a redesign to their Keller Williams provided company website. And I did that, and worked for another entrepreneur at that time that was really talented, really smart, and learned a lot about technology and different apps and things like Google Drive and different marketing techniques. So learned a lot from that, and then I left there and got into wholesaling real estate, flipping houses, and then that's where I found Lonnie deals after that.
Okay, good deal. I want to talk about that very first deal. You kind of alluded to how you were able to get the funding for it, which you went to an educational program and got some emails from all the students that attended with you. You sent it out once you found the deal. To get the funding in place. But how did you actually find that first deal? You said it was a cold call?
Yeah. So I actually had a different mobile home park under contract in Arkansas, and I was calling mobile home parks around that park to get lot rent comps. And sure enough, one of my calls off of just a Google Places, phone number, I called one of the park managers at this park and said, hey, I was asking him, hey, I'm looking at buying a park nearby. Was wondering how much you guys charge for lot rent. Does that include utilities? And he was like, oh, well, he told me everything I need to know. And then he said at the end of the call, he said, hey, well, I think our owners are looking to sell one of the parks we own up in Illinois if you're interested. I said, oh yeah, I'd definitely be interested. Can I have the owner's, contact number? He said, oh, we don't give that out, but I'll have him call you. Which, if I've heard that once, I've heard it a million times. But this guy actually did call me back about a week later, and we started talking. And his name's John Tamblin, really good guy. And that's how we found our very first park in Edwardsville.
Okay, tell me about that first one. I think the first one always lays the foundation to where your business kind of goes, which path it takes thereafter. And so, the first one, give us a general idea of the size, some of the opportunity that you saw, like meaning opportunity is, filling vacant lots. Maybe collections were a little challenging there. You knew you could, increase the collections. Maybe the rents were low, but just give us a general overview if you would.
Sure. Yeah. That park has 67 lots, and it had septic tanks and city water that was sub-metered. So, when we bought it, it only had 57 or 58 occupied. So our goal was to come in, bring in used mobile homes that were around like 1985 to 1995 metal on metal homes, bring used mobile homes in that we could find for really cheap to fill those vacant lots and to get it fully occupied. So what we did is we bought it, and then since I was a Lonnie dealer, I was all over Craigslist, all over Facebook, and I found quite a few of those used mobile homes and brought them in to the park. So that was our whole entire plan there, and now it's fully occupied. And
hey guys, Kevin Bupp here with Sunrise Capital Investors. As you are hopefully already well aware if you've been a listener for any period of time, my goal has always been to provide you with as much value as I possibly can through my two podcasts, Real Estate Investing for Cash Flow and the Mobile Home Park Investing Podcast. As our audience continues to grow, literally, we've been downloaded millions of times by folks in over 125 countries. I've had thousands of people reach out looking to get involved in our niche. And that's the phenomenal niche of mobile home park investing. For those that don't know, I've been a full-time real estate investor for nearly 20 years now, and I've personally invested in and have owned apartment complexes, various commercial properties, hundreds of single-family rentals, and I've interviewed some of the most successful investors in just about every other asset class, and I've arrived at this one very simple conclusion. Mobile home parks are hands down the best investment I've found to date. Why? They provide investors with the best risk-adjusted returns out of any other real estate sector that I've seen. Investing in real estate can get complicated, and I really want to simplify this process for you. If you're someone who wants to diversify away from the uncertainty of Wall Street and allocate a percentage of your real estate portfolio to mobile home parks, but maybe you don't have the time nor the inclination to personally locate good deals yourself, then our team will do it for you. At Sunrise Capital Investors, our team specializes in the acquisitions and management of undervalued and highly profitable mobile home parks. And we are now providing accredited investors with an opportunity to participate directly alongside our team in our up-and-coming deals. And let me say this, I believe that we are hands down the best in our space at sourcing highly profitable off-market deals. That's really what makes us unique in this niche and as investment managers. As stewards of your capital, we truly are aligned with our investors. We've structured our investment fund so that we as a company are incentivized in the same way the investor is, which is through the performance of the investment itself. In addition, we want to make sure that we not only make money for our investors, but that they understand how it's being made. That's why we provide our accredited partners with a private monthly podcast that walks them through the detailed updates on how their investment is performing. And we're very transparent, providing you with the good, the bad, and the ugly at times. And so if you'd like to learn more about the partnership opportunities with our team here at Sunrise, please go visit sunrisecapitalinvestors.com and click on the investors link to get signed up. It's absolutely free and you'll get placed on the priority list of when new opportunities come along. Also, feel free to call us at 833-CASH-FLOW without the O. Again, that's 833-CASH-FLOW without the O. And one of our investor relations team members will help you schedule an appointment to speak with one of our managing principals. If you have questions, go ahead and schedule a call and let's get on the phone and talk. And with that, guys, I like to leave with one last thought. From the time that I wake up in the morning to the time that I lay my head down the rest of the evening, my number one priority with everything I do, whether it be recording this podcast, working for our investors, helping each of you reach your investment goals, to providing a great experience to each of our residents who reside in our communities, is to add huge amounts of value to everyone that I come in contact with. Now, with that being said, I look forward to the opportunity of bringing value to you through Sunrise and through this podcast. Thank you for your time. Now, let's go ahead and get back to the show.
I mean, we added tremendous value. I mean, we bought it for $1.34 million, and now it's worth over $2 million just by filling those vacant lots. Mm-hmm. So it's it was a really awesome opportunity.
Now, give me the general breakdown there of that community. Was it a majority tenant-owned homes, and then other than the homes that you brought in?
Correct. Yeah. So there was about 6 park-owned homes that were already sold on like a rent credit program when we took the park over. Mm-hmm. So, the majority, 52 or so were already tenant owned.
Okay. Got it. And the lot rents in the park, were they pretty close to market at the time you took it over, or was there some room to run there as well? It's quite common that you run across these mom and pop communities, there's a major discrepancy from what the market really is and where their rents are currently at. Yeah.
This seller had it set up to where he was going to increase lot rent, so that the first month that we owned it, it was already increased. So he had increased it to about $25 less than market. It was at $275 a month when we bought it. And then we just increased it to $305 a month.
Okay, got it. And then give me some of the challenges with that park. I mean, you bought it, there was some infill. You already had experience with finding used mobile homes from being, a Lonnie Dealer and knowing how to utilize technology like Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist. And I'm sure there's other resources that you used as well. But I'm sure it didn't go as smooth as you'd hope. I mean, there's always a plan that we have that we put in place, and you always have to
adjust accordingly as time goes on, and things don't always go the way you'd hope. And so give us an idea of some of the challenges you faced with that very first community and what you did to overcome them.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that jumps into my mind is the septic tanks, and
good old septics.
Good old septics. I mean, we did a ton of, due diligence, really trying to vet the septics and making sure that they were, sustainable, and they're all, big concrete septic tanks. We didn't really get any pushback from the inspectors. They thought that they would last, another 10 to 20 years. But the one issue is that there's a lot of trees in the park. Mm-hmm. So the trees are getting into the, the inflow lines and getting into the, the lateral lines. And that's one issue that we came across is, the roots will just eat up those lateral lines, and to replace those lateral lines, it's fairly expensive. You're looking at $3,000, or so, to get those replaced. So that's one thing that we've had an issue with is those. The other issue we ran into, is some of the park-owned homes, not having heat tape on during the winter months.
Oh, boy.
So, once that hit, it was a downward slope. So we had to make some changes. And in this coming year, we're gonna, I think it's a good practice around every September to really send out like a notice to everyone, and maybe even send a handyman to go through the park and look at all of the water meters to make sure that they have heat tape and that they're insulated properly. Because, I mean, it was just one after another that just kept breaking. And, we had everything. One tenant moved out, and we had everything from where the water in the toilet was frozen, the hot water tank was frozen. So it was just, a rough little adjustment there. Yeah.
So for those that don't know, explain what heat tape is and why you need it on a mobile home.
Yeah. So heat tape goes around the water line and basically prevents the water line from freezing. It basically is exactly what it is. It's tape that heats the water line. You plug it in, and it basically keeps the lines from freezing in the wintertime. So really important to avoid the lines.
Yeah. So just for those that have never been underneath a mobile home, so I'll go a little deeper on that. For those that have never actually seen below a mobile home, there's a gap there. Mobile homes sit up on blocks, sometimes between 2 or 3 feet, sometimes higher than that. But, there's a water line that runs, it's in the ground, and essentially there's a water riser that basically comes out of the ground and into the bottom of the mobile home. Well, then there's an exposed piece of that water line that in very cold climates, even though there's skirting on the bottom of these homes, I mean, and there's a little bit of insulation on the floor, and there might be some insulation on the skirting. I've seen that before, but still not enough to keep water from freezing, especially when you're in climates that get, in the teens. I mean, teens and lower than that. And so once a water line freezes, there are lots of other challenges that take place after that. And so heat tape, as Andrew had alluded to, just basically wraps around that exposed piece of water pipe, and it's, connected to a power supply, and a very low current runs through it and keeps that line from freezing. So plain and simple. But honestly, up until like 6 years ago, I had no idea what heat tape was. That's why I wanted you actually to bring that up. I had no idea why people would use heat tape. We never had to use it before. So before getting into mobile homes, right?
Same here. I had no clue. And I'm a Florida native. So down in Florida, we don't have that problem.
Oh, yeah.
But up north, it's definitely something you need to make sure you have on your water lines.
Yep. So I want to talk a little bit about filling vacant lots, and I'm going to jump around a little bit because there's a lot of topics I want to cover, and I feel like filling vacant lots is a very important one, especially I feel like in today's world, we run across our company alone lots of communities that have infill opportunities, and in theory, infilling empty lots is easy, right? You find a home, either a used one or you buy a new one, and you call a company up and they move it in, and boom, ready for business, right? There's a lot more involved in that, lots more moving pieces. But I don't want to get into the weeds with this, but more so I want to talk about the ability to find used inventory. You'll find used homes at a fair price to bring into your community. Can you talk a little bit about the resources that you use and how you've used them efficiently in an efficient manner to find and purchase used homes for these communities? I'm assuming you did on this first one, so you've probably done it successfully in other communities as well.
Yeah. And I mean, from resources of where we find homes, number one, I would say, is Facebook Marketplace. Number 2 is Craigslist. Number 3 is repos. And those right there are where we get a lot of our used inventory from. Sometimes there's some transporters that we've come across that we've, communicated that we buy used homes from. And we also will buy metal on metal homes because a lot of operators only want, vinyl siding and shingle roof homes. So the transporters know that they'll contact us. But those are the best deals we find are on those platforms.
Okay. And Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist, is there an efficient way to actually search on a daily basis? I mean, are you mainly just logging in and looking for homes on a regular basis? Or
I set up, there's like a notification area where you can set up to be notified when new homes match your criteria. And that's useful. But you got to be fast. I mean, on Craigslist and on, Facebook Marketplace, usually when the good ones come up that are the decent homes and people want to sell fast, usually if you're not there within, I'd say 2 to 3 days, in front of the seller with cash, you're probably going to miss out on that deal because there are a lot of other people out there doing this or finding homes and then selling them to park owners like us.
Yeah. Would you find that it's more commonly your competition on those used homes are other park owners?
Either other park owners or I would say other Lonnie dealers that are, buying homes and then trying to do the same thing I was originally doing. But there's still some deals out there. If you spend the time and be on those platforms, you'll find deals.
And how are you guys funding the home infill? Because I feel like it's a very capital intensive component of the business, and could be very challenging for someone that's buying their first park, that they might end up using a large majority of the money saved up for that first park investment. But then if there's that infill opportunity, how would one go about funding these used homes to bring in?
Yeah, so part of our business model is up front. We raise, enough capital to bring those homes in. We kind of backtrack into the fact that, hey, if we can get a home on a lot, a used home that has good bones, if we can get a used home on a lot for $15,000, we're adding $30,000 or more worth of value to our property.
Yep.
So when you look at it that way, imagine going to Vegas and you're playing roulette, red or black, but there's no green. I mean, it's you're doubling your money every time there. So it's kind of a no-brainer. So that's how we backtrack into that.
Okay, good deal. I'm gonna switch gears again now, and I want to talk about owning out of state. One of the luxuries that we don't have being in this niche, let's talk about compared to multifamily and apartment investors, like. They have the luxury being that there's so many multifamily properties in the U.S. that you could be very selective and say, I only want to invest in these 1, 2, or 3 markets, right? And you could probably accumulate thousands of assets. In the mobile home park space, there's not that many assets. I mean, no, I don't think anyone knows the exact number, Andrew, but I've heard the number thrown out of somewhere between 50 and 55,000 parks across the United States. And that factors in even those little teeny tiny parks that really we're not looking for. And so I don't know what the real number is that we're all really picking from, but it's not a huge number. And so it pretty much requires that if you want to own a number of parks, you want to build a portfolio, you want to build a full-time mobile home park investing company, you've got to be open-minded to investing out of area or even out of state, sometimes thousands of miles away. And so I know that you own parks across many different states, and they're very far away from your home base in Orlando, Florida. Talk to me a little bit about the challenges that you faced becoming a long-distance landlord and having these parks spread out amongst multiple different markets.
Yeah, so we own parks in Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Pennsylvania, and Tennessee. And with doing that, we use the model where we, hire an on-site manager that kind of is the eyes and ears on the property. Some of the difficulties we face are with the renovations of mobile homes that, we inherit park-owned homes when we buy the place. The renovation process has been very difficult because some of the on-site park managers are not versed in contractor lingo. They don't really know what to look for if someone's, replacing subfloor or if they're just, throwing more OSB right over the top and, calling it good. So that's where we've had a lot of, I would say, struggles is trying to make sure that, our projects that we have going on are being managed properly. But for the most part, outside of renovation projects, it's pretty smooth. I mean, we have some pretty good systems in place that, with checks and balances that help us sustain our management.
Have you found the secret of finding that on-site manager that's got that project management experience? Because that is a challenge, and it's a challenge that I think we all face in this business. And so how have you been able to overcome that as far as, you've got a large number of acquisitions in a very short period of time. So I'm assuming that you probably have at least one project going in every single community that you own. Is that an accurate statement?
Just about, yeah. I think there's one or two that don't, but yeah, there's always one home that's on the radar, or we're in process of eviction or something that we'll be getting soon. But yeah, it's definitely an issue to find good project managers that are going to be able to, send you photos and send you videos. But that's really what we have them do is we have them send walkthrough videos and photos. And sometimes the contractors, don't even like it. But before we hire them, we tell them, hey, you're going to be photographed. We're going to need to be updated, because we're here in Orlando, Florida. We need to know that this job is going a certain way. So that's what we have them do is we try to get ourselves as good a picture as we can of what the actual project is looking like.
Got it. The one question I forgot to ask in the very beginning of the show that I like to always ask is, why mobile home parks? And there's many other asset classes, some more sexy than mobile home parks that you could have chosen from. The self-storage are really hot nowadays. Retail shopping centers, office complexes, multifamily, which is kind of the asset class of the decade now. But talk to me about mobile home parks and why did you select that niche over all the other ones that are out there?
Yeah,
obviously you like traveling to them. That's because that's where you are right now, right?
Yeah, the first thing is it has one of the highest rates of return out of all forms of real estate. Yep. And that's really attractive to me. I'm a huge believer in the strong need for affordable housing. And, I thought that before. Now I know that there really is a strong need in several different markets across the Midwest where we own parks for affordable housing. And then also the limited supply of mobile home parks is another big reason why we really love this asset class. And, the fact that the majority of mobile home parks are owned by mom and pop owners that have owned these parks for several years means that they have good equity share in the properties. So they're more willing to do things like seller finance. And that's why we really like this space. And it's, there's a lot of deals out there still to be found.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And so I want to talk a little bit about that as far as the mom and pop owners. A lot of them own these things free and clear. And I know that we were talking a little bit about this most recent acquisition up in Salem, Ohio, that you were able to negotiate seller financing on that deal. And so I get asked the question at least once a week. I get an email from just maybe it's my other podcast or this podcast, but people asking about the seller financing. What's the secret? What's the magic? What do you say to them to get them to agree to owner financing? And I want to hear your answer to that, because I personally don't believe there's a magic pill to it. I think it's just a matter of building trust and building rapport, and also understanding the seller's objectives with the sale, what they intend to do with the money, and what their future goals are if they have any, and trying to make it all fit together and make it be a win-win for everyone. But that's kind of my answer. Typically, I don't think there's a magic pill, but maybe you have one. So tell me, what are your thoughts on that?
No, I think mine aligns just the same as your answer. It really has a lot to do with rapport, and if they like you and if they trust you, and all the seller finance deals that I've done, they're very out in the open. They want to know the business model that you have. They want to know what you're going to do with the place and what your plans are. And I'm just very straightforward, and I tell them, this is a good opportunity. It gets you out from under this property, which you're already, not wanting to manage and not wanting anything to do with. Mm-hmm. So, if you can work with me, because this property in particular, it has 82 lots, of which there's only just over 50 that are occupied. A bank is going to snarl at it. So we did try to go to a local bank and get some financing on this. And they kind of raised their nose and went the other way and just said, we're not interested in offering financing on this. And then I brought that to the seller and said, hey, this is something that, whether I buy this park or someone else does, you're going to have an issue, having a buyer come to this property and get financing on it. So would you consider, holding the paper? And, this seller in particular was very interested in doing that and also, liked the idea of creating some extra income off of the sale from the interest. So it was really a win-win for both of us.
Got it. And so what are your plans with this community? So it's, I think you said 82, but only 52 or so are occupied. Major infill project there. That's pretty significant. What do you think as far as the absorption rate of that area based on the short time that you've owned it? How fast do you think you can infill those vacant 30 or some odd lots?
Man, we've been so blessed with this park. I mean, we have had so much demand. When we bought it, there was 2 homes that were like ready to go. And the previous seller, he lives like 3 hours away and he's a very hands-on guy. So he was not doing any marketing. He literally had one sign, this little tiny little coroplast sign that he put out in the front of the park when he had a home for sale. And that was it. That was his marketing. And he kept telling me how there's not enough demand. You're not going to find good tenants in this area. And I from my test ad before I bought it, I knew that there was good demand just off of my Craigslist test ad. But Facebook Marketplace has just flooded us with really good quality leads. And I mean, we filled both of those homes, very quickly. So it is an infill project, but I'm a strong believer that, you need to be able to get these homes. You don't want to sell homes as handyman specials, and a lot of operators that I've come across, they're just giving homes away. I ran across one park where they were just giving homes away, and like the quality of tenant you're going to generate and the look of your park is going to diminish if you start doing that. So we have 7 rehab projects going on right now in this park. And, I want to make sure that even if the roof is fairly good and could go without getting coated, I want to coat the roofs because I know that water infiltration will just ruin a mobile home. I want to make sure all the subfloors are solid. So if you provide a good product and you provide a good home that is going to last, you're going to get good quality tenants. So we've had really good infill, and there's more to come.
Yeah, no, that's great. Have you guys looked into bringing any brand new homes into the communities? I know there's multiple programs out there that can facilitate that. Have you looked into that? And if so, what's the reason that maybe you're not doing it and just prefer to do the used homes?
Yeah, we've looked into that. We are in the process of signing up with 21st Mortgage to utilize the cash program with some of these vacant lots. So that is something that we are looking into and want to utilize. But if we can find used homes, which we have been able to, for $3,000 to $5,000, that has kind of been our primary focus right now.
Okay. Got it. The big question, how are you finding your deals today? I know we talked very briefly about cold calling. I think you'd mentioned that's how you found that first one, but talk to me about in general terms, like how are you finding most of these, of the 7 parks that you've purchased over the past year or so?
Yeah. So cold calling's been a really big component of that. We did do a little direct mail. Not much came of it. But cold calling has been the easiest way, the best way for us to find deals. We have, out of the 7 parks we have, 6 of them came off of cold calling, and 1 of them came off of mobilehomeparkstore.com. Okay. So that's where we find our deals.
Okay, fantastic. And so getting phone numbers is the hardest. I'm assuming you're using like a service like a TLO or something similar to that to track down phone numbers.
Yeah, and a lot of times we call off of the Google Places, listing for the actual mobile home park, and just get the manager, or sometimes it'll call direct to the owner of the park. But yeah, we've also done the reverse lookups as well.
Yeah. Okay. But you've had good luck just calling the Google number. That's interesting. I guess with the mom and pops, a lot of them probably just have the number forward to them. They're the ones running the show.
There's more often, a lot of people say, oh, well, you're just going to get a manager and get the runaround. But I would say out of every 10 phone calls, you're going to get one or two that goes direct to the actual owner of the park.
What kind of compliance have you received from the managers when you get them on the phone? I mean, do you find that most of them are helpful and accommodating, or some just kind of try to push you off the other direction?
Yeah, I would say it's 50-50. Some
Okay.
are nice and some will just hang up on you. For a while, my wife, Katie, was making some of the phone calls, and, she'd get hung up on, and then she'd just raise her hand and say, oh, there's another one. But you just
ring the bell. Bing, bing, bing.
Yeah, ring the bell. But it's part of it. But some of them are very nice. And if you get the owners on the phone, they're genuinely very receptive, because, you're offering money to buy their property. Who wouldn't be open to at least hearing an offer? Right?
Yep, absolutely. So what's your long-term strategy? I mean, where do you take this thing? So your goal is to get to 10 parks here by the end of 2018, but where do you go after that? Like, what's your long-term goal in this business?
Yeah, Kevin, I've the more and more I learn about this industry and this sector, I become more and more obsessed with it. I'm all in when it comes to mobile home parks, just because of the large amount of upside, and it's fun for me. I enjoy the get your hands dirty, being on site and facilitating a turnaround. This park, when we bought it, compared to the way it looks now, just 30 or 40 days later, is completely different, just by implementing rules, and it's really enjoyable. So I enjoy the sector. Long-term goals, I see us to continue acquiring parks. It definitely has brought me and my family financial freedom, and the ability to not have to plug into a 9 to 5, and create freedom with my schedule. And that was really important to me. But yeah, I definitely see us continuing to acquire parks.
Okay, fantastic. I want to get some mobile home park humor here. And you shared a story with me before we started recording this call here today that, or maybe you have a better one than I thought. That one was pretty good. That was actually one of the best ones I've heard. So if you wouldn't mind sharing, let's give everyone not a laugh. Not to laugh at the industry, because it's a phenomenal industry. I love it. I love the people. And the residents, the owners, everything about it. So I don't want to make a joke about the industry, but there's some silly stories that come out of it. So I think it's only fair that maybe we share some of that humor with the audience.
Yeah, definitely. So in this, we're living in a house that's in front of the mobile home park here in Salem. And one of the tenants, we just came home one night, and there was one of those, large, I would say it's like probably a liter of butter, those butter containers, the brown ones. Yep. So it looked like a liter of butter on our steps. And we're like, what is this? And there's a note on top that said, made too much chili tonight, help yourselves. So we chuckled and laughed and thought it was very nice of someone, but we didn't eat it. But it was very nice of them to do that. So a couple days later, one of the tenants comes up to us when we're doing some of our inspections and stuff, and says, hey, did you all enjoy that chili? It's award-winning chili. And we were like, oh, really? That, I'll be honest, we said, oh, it was very good. Thank you so much for bringing that up. And we were going to continue on. And he's like, oh, do you want to know what my recipe is, what my secret ingredient is? And we're like, oh, sure. What's the secret ingredient if you're willing to share? And he goes, yeah, I caught a raccoon, and it's raccoon meat from a raccoon we caught here in the park. And we were like, oh my gosh, just completely, caught off guard by that. And we thought it was funny, but you should have seen my wife's face when he said that. It was kind of just like a, whoa, caught off guard look. But
I can't imagine seeing your wife's face if you guys would have actually eaten that.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So you guys are actually, let me get this straight here. So you and your wife, you drug your wife along with you. So the two of you are living in that home. Like you're not just up there for like the weekend or like a couple days. Like you're living in that home for a period of time. I mean, what does that look like? How long do you plan on staying there? And then do you move on to the next community after that and live in it? Or, I mean, do you guys truly have a home base in Orlando still?
Yeah, we do have a home base in Orlando, and that's our goal, is to get back there. But we're up here for 2 months, living in the house. And we also brought our 14-month-old daughter with us. Her name's Aria.
Oh my God.
So we brought the whole family here. And, this is one of the bigger turnarounds that we've taken on, just due to the large number of evictions that we were expecting. I think I told you we were expecting to have to evict 10 to 12 tenants that weren't paying the previous owner when we took it over. Which now that we've been here and kind of, enforced rules and told everybody that, we are going to enforce the no pay, no stay policy, we had to evict 2 or 3. But yeah, we're living in the house. We want to be here for 2 months just to kind of set up the systems. We hired a new manager because there was no manager previously, because the owner was just managing it himself.
Yeah.
So we found a good manager, and, facilitating and being here for the renovation of the mobile homes has really been the best use of our time, is to be able to oversee contractors and make sure that those are going smoothly and they're done right. Has really been a benefit. But we do plan to go back to our home base in Orlando.
Yeah, no, I think that's really awesome, man. I kind of laugh, but I mean, I think it's awesome, and it really just shows dedication. Anyone out there that has an excuse of why they can't get into this business, or why they can't buy their first piece of real estate, or why they can't be a full-time investor, like, just throw it in the trash can. Because honestly, most people that had a 14-month-old and were married, I mean, the fact that you were able to persuade your wife to actually move up there, seriously, but like, I know you were passionate enough, and your conviction was so strong that she believes in you and she believes in this business. And that just means that you got like this undying passion to be successful, whether it be at this or it probably applies. I'm guessing your personality carries over to everything else you do in your life. So I think it's really cool, man. And I mean, the chances of you succeeding are like 100% in this business. If you're willing to actually go there and live in that home for a period of time, and I'm sure it's a nice home, but still, like, I mean, literally uprooting your family and moving, 1,000 miles away into a not as nice area probably as where you live.
That's true. Yeah.
It's pretty awesome, man. So congrats on that, and kudos. Yeah, that's cool. So lastly, there's one last question before we go into our final segment, which is called the final word. And the last question I wanted to ask you, as we're running out of time here, is maintaining quality control. And we talked a little about, managing these properties from afar. And you talked about, when you're doing renovations and things like that, you have the managers take pictures and do videos and things of that nature. But as far as just the general upkeep of the community and ensuring that the rules and regulations are being enforced, how do you do that? How do you manage that process so that, you don't show up 4 or 5 months from now and literally there's like, trash and broken down cars and broken windows and all that crazy stuff?
Yeah. So one big thing that we do is every month on the 15th of the month, there is a drive-through video that's done by our manager, and she sends that to us. She uploads it right to YouTube and sends us the link. And that's something we take a lot of time on when we're training a new manager, is how to do that video, because a lot of people are not versed in, the technology and uploading videos to YouTube. Mm-hmm. So we make sure that, they know how to upload a video to YouTube and do a quick little drive-through of the property. And that has been a huge help, because we tell them, hey, take your time, go through every lot and, make sure that we're pointing out things with them. We also do have a regional manager that reviews all those videos with the on-site manager to go through possible violations. But that's really been a huge help in maintaining, people following the rules. One of the big things that we do is with all of our park-owned homes, we have them set up on an inspection schedule. Once a quarter, we do a walkthrough inspection where the on-site manager will actually go through the park-owned home and take a video of that and send it to us, just to kind of get our eyes on how the tenant is living, just so we have an understanding of what the home is looking like. Because we've had homes where we just renovate them and they're gorgeous homes. They're ready to rock and roll. and then a tenant comes in and literally paints all the walls black, all the walls through the whole place, all right over the switches, right over all the outlet receptacles. And it's like, they didn't get any sort of permission or anything just to paint the whole place black. So we do a quarterly inspection of all the homes, and that's been helpful as well, just to kind of help determine what's going on, and also to catch any issues early on. If there is a roof leak, and there's water damage or something, if we can catch it early, it's going to cost a lot less compared to catching it 5 years down the line when the tenant just walks away.
Do you get any pushback from residents when you do that quarterly inspection?
We try to give them a week ahead of time, notification that, hey, this day we're going to be doing an inspection, if you can be available. But we try to, give them enough notice of the inspection, and we haven't got that much pushback. If there is an issue, the managers usually say, okay, well, instead of this day, we'll move it back a day so it works with your work schedule. Mm-hmm. So
that's great.
It's been all right.
Okay, well, fantastic. Well, I know we're running up to the wall here on time, and now I'd like to enter in what I like to call the final word. That's our last segment of the show here, Andrew. And what I'd like to ask of you is, what final piece of advice or wisdom could you share with all the aspiring mobile home park investors that might provide them with the much needed inspiration and motivation needed to make it in this niche, to be successful in this niche? If you had one last final word, what would that be?
My word would be just get started. I've talked to a lot of people that are interested in the niche, but they either have analysis paralysis, or they have reviewed so many deals, but they're just not comfortable moving forward yet. But my advice would be, hey, if 80%, you should move forward. You're not ever going to get 100% more often than not. And if you're worried about the money, the money is probably the easiest thing that I've found to do deals. Once I find a deal, the deal is usually the hard part, through cold calling or direct mail or whatever you do. But once you find a deal, a lot of operators are worried about, I'll find a deal, but I don't know where I'm going to get the money for the deal. The money will definitely be there, easier than you think. And when I started, I didn't have anything. I mean, I didn't have a lot of cash to put into a park. So I needed an investor to join me and partner with me to make that deal happen. And, now that I've been doing this a while, I've found that if you find a good deal, the money will come. So just start getting on the phones and take that initiative to get started.
Have you found that that first investor relationship that you made, is that one person also a majority of your funding for these future deals, or have you gone out and found other investment partners?
I have found other investment partners, but yeah, he has done multiple deals with me.
Okay.
And obviously once you do one good deal with someone, they're right there, wanting to do more deals with you, especially as we start refinancing some of these deals. He wants to take that money and put it right back into the space.
Okay. Well, fantastic, man. Well, Andrew, this has been an absolute blast, man. I really appreciate you having the show. And I've been meaning to do this. I know MHI, where we met each other in person for the first time. We talked on the phone before. Was how long has it been now? Has it been a month and a half, 2 months, or something like that, since we were out there? And I've been meaning to do this, a couple weeks ago, but we finally got on the phone together. And I really appreciate you coming on the show. And tell our listeners how they can find out more about you and your company. What's your website they can find you at?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Kevin. If you guys just want to talk, you can give me you can check out my website. It's wefixmobilehomeparks.com. You can set up a time to chat with me. Would love to network with you and give you any advice I can to help you succeed.
Okay, well, fantastic. Well, guys, that's all we have for today's episode. But before we say goodbye, I just want to remind you of the free gift that we give to all the listeners who take the time to go over to iTunes and leave a 5-star rating. We'll actually give you the exact cold call script. And just like Andrew had alluded to, like, he uses cold calling a lot in his business. Most of the deals he has found has been through cold calling. And so we have a cold call script that we use in our business. And we'll give you a free copy of that if you go over to iTunes and leave that review. I'd say about half the properties that we own today are from cold calling, the other half from direct mail. And there's a little small portion are actually from brokers, but it's a very small portion. So cold calling it should be a major part of your business. And what you're going to do to redeem that free gift is, after you submit the review on iTunes, go ahead and just send us an email to gift@mobilehomeparkacademy.com and just tell us who you are and what screen name that you use when you left that review. And we'll go ahead and shoot you out that
free cold calling script. And you can also stop by the Mobile Home Park Academy website at mobilehomeparkacademy.com, and you can listen to all the previous podcasts that we have. I think we've got 87 or 88 shows now up there, lots of free content. And you can also download a free copy of our popular ebook, which is called The 21 Biggest Mistakes Investors Make When Purchasing Their First Mobile Home Park and How to Avoid Them. Definitely a required read. Go grab a copy of it. It's free, and I guarantee that you'll learn a lot, and you'll probably save yourselves tens of thousands of dollars just by reading through that book before you buy your first community. So, guys, thanks again for stopping by and joining us here at the Mobile Home Park Investing Podcast. And this is your host, Kevin Bupp, signing off.
Congratulations! Now you've got more of the best tricks of the trade in building massive amounts of passive income from real estate. For more amazing resources, visit realestateinvestingforcashflow.com. And we'll see you next Monday morning.